Disclaimer, I'm a morning person, so this is not my best time. And also, if you have a train of thought, I have a Roomba of thought, so it goes one way, it hits an object, and it turns. So bear with me. I want to talk about from accommodation to belonging. And so, what is this about? This is what accommodation looks like. So maybe, see, please? No? Okay. This is what accommodation looks like. You have a certain shape and you try to fit it into a certain shape. But maybe some people are different, right? So we are all similar in some ways and different in others. And if you have a way of accommodating people at work that are, for instance, not neurotypical, it often, that's already good if you have anything. Okay, I'm complaining on a high level here. But most of the time, what you need is the person first to identify, I have a special need. Second, the person to speak up, which is sometimes not very safe, which can also be stigmatizing, because other people go, why is this person allowed to do that and I'm not allowed to do that? And sometimes it's badly communicated, right? So there's a bit of a risk in that we stigmatize people because they're different. And it's also based on deficiency. It's looking at this person is not good at this, so we are going to give them this special treatment. But indeed, it's not about special treatment. It's not about favoritism. It's about leveling the playing field, right? Merchan was talking about DEI. So DEI is also about equity, right? So some people, in some situations, have it more difficult than others. So my first question is, what if we could move from fitting in to belonging, from trying to put everyone into the same kind of shape, right, to belonging? What would that look like? We talk about human here, right? Humans have, weaknesses, strengths, quirks, a Roomba of thought, a train of thought, whatever you have at home, right? And why am I talking about this? Because it's very relevant. We've heard already about the mental health crisis, and I'm sure that you're also aware that there's a lot of connection between neurodiversity and mental health, right? So we've heard before about the brain fog, we've heard before about the sensory overload, and there's a couple of things that if you're not neurotypical, you're more likely to experience more often, right? I've mentioned this stigma, right? I've mentioned the stigma that maybe people are going to exclude you from conversations, they're going to exclude you from groups or communities, they're going to maybe exclude you from opportunities because you are seen as, this person is not very good at that, or it will take too much time to get them ready, right? They have to perform, and right now they can't, so that's not. So we have the part about stigma and exclusion, we have the part of overload or fatigue, right? And we also have intersectionality. So whenever we talk about diversity, remember that if you are part of, for instance, two different minorities, it compounds. So it's going to make it harder if you happen to be part of a minority and also not neurotypical. So this is why it's very important, because it's even harder sometimes. And so the way I look at it is, don't worry, I'm not going to talk about creating a new prompting workshop for L&D about AI, because every time someone mentions that, there's an L&D practitioner that has a stroke somewhere in the world. I didn't right now, so it's good. I'm going to talk about really basic things here, okay? So you don't need to be an expert in AI, you don't need to have a complex tool, but there are some things that everyone can do that are already helpful, and especially for your colleagues that might struggle with them, right? So the first one is conditional logic, right? So there are so many people I work with, there are so many things I have to do. I want a specific event to trigger a specific response. For example, my manager is a key stakeholder. Whenever my manager pings me on Slack, I want that to be highlighted and I want that to arrive. And when this other person from this other team does it, I want that to be muted and then I will check it later. I don't want to have the highlight. So this has me to prioritize and to focus, right? Talking about clarity. And summarizing, analyzing. So I had a manager previously who was dyslexic, and her email footer said, please apologize for my spelling mistakes, I'm dyslexic. She also had ADHD, so it's a double whammy, right? And what I'm thinking is, cool, so AI can help with that because, hey, spelling check and suggesting different ways of phrasing that. But you know what AI cannot help with? The fact that she wrote that there, because our assumption is, oh, she made a spelling error, she must not be very competent. Right? So we still have our human biases about that. Reducing the overload, right? And we also heard before about how we can basically have conversations with AI, right? So one way of using it is as a sparring partner. If I struggle to have, we call it difficult conversation or uncomfortable conversations, yes, I can try to simulate them before, right? If maybe for me, it's difficult to be part of a meeting and understand what is the content we're talking about, and then also understand how are people feeling. Well, I can be present in the meeting, and then I can ask later for what was the general emotion of it? Like, what emotions can you perceive, right? So there's a lot of ways in which this can help us. Why am I mentioning this? Because these are all basic things that we're probably all using, you know? But what I'm thinking is, what if we move away from this idea of neurodiversity is something deficient, it's a symptom, we have to fix it, or we have to give people special treatment towards, is there something in the future that we can do to actually change the world, because it's already changing, thanks to AI, thanks to many things, so that it fits the person with their strength, with their weaknesses, with their own perspective, with their own experience, right? So, thank you. I hope you managed to follow a little more.